My wife planned dinner with her boyfriend, so I reserved the table next to theirs and brought his wife as my date. But before I begin, please like and subscribe to the channel. And we'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. The morning Michael Rourke stopped believing in his marriage, he was loading the dishwasher. It wasn't dramatic. No slammed doors. No screaming. Just the quiet realization that the woman upstairs, showering, humming something he didn't recognize, had become a stranger wearing his wife's face. He set a coffee mug in the rack and listened to the water running through the pipes above him. 14 years. 14 years in this house on Meadowbrook Drive, where the neighbors kept their lawns trim and their secrets buried, where everyone waved from driveways and no one asked real questions. Michael had built a life here. Stable, predictable, safe. And somewhere in the last 6 months, Lindsay had decided it wasn't enough. He closed the dishwasher and wiped down the counter, the same counter where they used to sit together on Saturday mornings, her feet tucked under his leg, laughing about nothing. What had that stopped? What had she started checking her phone during dinner, her smile turning distant when he asked about her day? The water shut off upstairs. Michael poured himself another cup of coffee and walked to the window. The subdivision stretched out in neat rows, brick houses, 2-car garages, basketball hoops, standing garden driveways. Knoxville's suburbs had a way of making everything look clean, contained, like problems didn't exist if you mowed the grass often enough. He'd fixed their gutters last week. Alone, Lindsay had been meeting a friend for drinks. She came home at 11, smelling like wine and expensive cologne that wasn't his. He hadn't said a word. Lindsay appeared in the kitchen 20 minutes later, hair still damp, wearing a blouse he'd never seen before. Teal, low cut, not the kind of thing she wore to her job at the credit union. "Morning," she said, not quite meeting his eyes. "Morning." She grabbed her purse from the hook by the door, checked her phone, typed something fast. Her nails were done. French tips. What'd you got in those? "Late meeting today," she said, slipping the phone into her bag. "Probably won't be home until 8. Michael nodded. "Okay. There's leftover pasta in the fridge if you want it." "Sure." She hesitated at the door, like she wanted to say something else. Then the moment passed. She left without kissing him goodbye. The door clicked shut. Michael stood there, coffee cooling in his hand, and felt nothing. That's when he knew. The message appeared on a Tuesday. Michael had come downstairs early, habit from years of waking before the alarm. Lindsay was still asleep, or pretending to be. He couldn't tell anymore. The kitchen was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. He started the coffee maker and noticed her tablet on the counter, screen dark. She usually kept it upstairs. Usually kept it close. He picked it up to move it aside. The screen lit up. A notification banner. One line. "Enough. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Same place. 7:30. The name at the top. Derek Vaughn. Michael didn't move. Didn't breathe. The coffee maker sputtered behind him, filling the silence with something normal, something that didn't match the moment cracking open in his chest. He read it again. "Can't wait for tomorrow night. Not tonight. Tomorrow. Wednesday." She'd already told him she was working late Wednesday. His hand was steady when he unlocked the tablet. She'd never changed the passcode from their anniversary and opened the message thread. 3 months of conversations. Restaurants. Hotel names. Compliments that made his stomach turn. Her replies. Playful. Eager. Nothing like the woman who barely spoke to him anymore. "You make me feel alive again," she'd written 2 weeks ago. Derek had responded with a photo. Shirtless. Grinning. "Can't wait to see you tonight," she'd replied. Michael took a photo of the screen with his phone. Then another. He scrolled back, methodical, capturing everything. Dates. Locations. Proof. Then he locked the tablet and set it exactly where he'd found it. Upstairs, the shower started running. Michael poured his coffee and sat at the table, staring at nothing. His phone sat in front of him, full of evidence that his marriage was over. He didn't feel angry yet. That would come later. Right now, he just felt cold. Lindsay came down 20 minutes later, grabbed the tablet without looking at him, and left for work. Michael waited until her car disappeared down the street. Then he opened his laptop and started searching. Derek Vaughn wasn't hard to find. Regional sales manager for a mid-tier logistics company. Married. One daughter, maybe 8 years old, smiling in every family photo. His wife, Monica, looked younger than Lindsay. Dark hair, tired eyes in some pictures, bright in others. Derek's profile was public, loud, the kind of guy who posted motivational quotes about grinding and winning, who checked in at airports and steakhouses like anyone cared. Michael studied the photos. Derek at a company retreat. Derek holding a golf club. Derek with his arm around Monica at someone's wedding, looking like a man who had everything under control. Michael leaned back in his chair. Derek had no idea what was coming. But Monica might. He found her profile. Private, but her workplace was listed. A dental office on the west side of town. He pulled up the address, memorized it, and closed the laptop. The house was quiet. Michael walked through it slowly, like seeing it for the first time. The couch where they used to watch movies. The dining table where they had hosted friends. The bedroom where she slept beside him every night, dreaming about someone else. He didn't break anything. Didn't shout. Didn't cry. He just made a decision. And once Michael Rourke made a decision, he didn't look back. Monica Vaughn answered the door in sweatpants and a faded t-shirt, her hair pulled into a messy ponytail. She looked at Michael like he was selling something she didn't want. "Can I help you?" Michael kept his voice even. "My name is Michael Rourke. I think we need to talk about your husband." Her expression shifted. Not surprise. Recognition. Like she'd been waiting for this conversation and hated that it had finally arrived. "What about him?" "He's been seeing my wife." Monica's face didn't change, but something in her posture collapsed. She gripped the doorframe. "How long?" "3 months. Maybe longer." She looked past him at the quiet street, the houses lined up like dominoes. Then she stepped back and opened the door wider. "Come in." The inside of the house was neat but cluttered. Toys in a basket by the couch, mail stacked on the counter, a child's drawing taped to the fridge. The air smelled like coffee and laundry detergent. Monica sat on the couch and gestured to the chair across from her. Michael sat. "I knew something was wrong," she said quietly. "He's been different. Distracted. Takes his phone everywhere. Stays late at work." She laughed, bitter. "I just didn't think he'd be stupid enough to take her out in public." Michael pulled out his phone and showed her the screenshots. Monica took the phone and scrolled through them, her face unreadable. When she finished, she handed it back and stared at the wall. "They have reservations tomorrow night," Michael said. 7:30. River's Edge. Monica looked at him. "How do you know?" She left her tablet out this morning. "I saw the messages." "And you came here first?" "Yes." She studied him, measuring. "Why?" "Because you deserve to know. And because I'm not letting them have tomorrow night." Monica leaned back, exhaling slowly. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," Michael said, "we get a table right next to theirs." Silence. Then Monica smiled. Not warm, not kind. The smile of someone who'd been pushed too far and finally decided to push back. Same time. Same time. She nodded. "I'll be there." Michael called the restaurant that afternoon and made a reservation for 2. Wednesday, 7:30. He requested a table near the windows overlooking the river. The hostess was cheerful. "Perfect. We have a lovely spot for you." "Thank you." He hung up and stared at his phone. Lindsay's contact photo smiled back at him, taken 3 years ago on a vacation to the Smoky Mountains. She looked happy. Real. He deleted the photo. Then he went to the garage and started packing boxes. Wednesday came slow and fast at the same time. Michael woke before dawn, the bed cold on Lindsay's side. She'd come home late again the night before, claimed she was tired, and went straight to sleep. Or pretended to. He got dressed in the dark. Jeans, a button-down shirt. Nothing fancy. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. Downstairs, he made coffee and waited. Lindsay appeared at 7, already dressed. The teal blouse again. Dark jeans. Makeup carefully done. She looked nervous, excited, like she was preparing for something that mattered. "You're up early," she said. Couldn't sleep. She poured herself coffee and checked her phone. Typed something. Smiled at whatever came back. "I'll probably be home late again tonight," she said. "Work thing, right?" She glanced at him, maybe sensing something off in his tone. But whatever she saw, she ignored it. "See you tonight." "Yeah." She left. Michael finished his coffee and checked the time. 12 hours until the reservation. He spent the day working from home, answering emails, reviewing reports, doing everything normal. At 5, he showered and put on a clean shirt. Dark gray. Simple. By 6:30, he was in the car. By 7, he was parked outside Monica's house. She came out at 7:10, wearing a black dress and heels, her hair down. She looked different than she had 2 days ago. Stronger. Ready. She got into the passenger seat and buckled her seatbelt. "You ready?" Michael asked. Monica stared straight ahead. "Let's go." River's Edge sat on the Tennessee River, all exposed brick and string lights, the kind of place that tried to be upscale without being stuffy. The parking lot was full, the patio crowded with couples and families enjoying the warm spring evening. Michael and Monica walked in together. The hostess greeted them with a bright smile. "Reservation. Rourke. 7:30. She checked the list. "Perfect. Right this way." They followed her through the restaurant, past tables of people laughing, talking, living normal lives. The hostess led them to a table near the windows, just like he'd requested. And one table over, empty, but set for 2, sat the reservation Michael knew was coming. Monica saw it too. She sat down without a word. Michael took the seat facing the entrance. "Your server will be right with you," the hostess said, leaving menus. They didn't open them. "How do you want to play this?" Monica asked quietly. "We wait. We'll let them sit down. Then we see what happens." Monica nodded. "And if they run?" "They won't." She looked at him, something like respect in her eyes. "You've thought this through." "Yes." They sat in silence, waiting. At 7:28, the door opened, and there they were. Lindsay walked in first, laughing at something Derek said behind her. She wore a red dress Michael had never seen, her hair curled, her face glowing in a way it hadn't in months. Derek followed, hand on the small of her back, grinning like he owned the room. Tall, broad, confident in that empty way some men wore like armor. They approached the hostess. Michael watched. Monica's hand tightened around her water glass. The hostess checked the list, smiled, and gestured toward their section. Lindsay was still laughing when she turned, and then she saw him. Her face went white. The laughter died in her throat. Derek noticed her reaction and followed her gaze. He froze. Monica leaned back in her chair, completely calm. "So this is her," she said, loud enough to carry. The restaurant didn't go silent. People were still eating, still talking, but the tables nearby quieted. Curious, sensing something, Lindsay's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Derek's confidence cracked. "Hey man, this isn't." Monica stood up. "Don't." Her voice was steady. Cold. The kind of cold that cut through noise. "Don't lie. Not tonight." Lindsay found her voice, shaky, desperate. "Michael, what are you doing here?" "Having dinner," he said evenly. "With Monica." Derek looked between them, his brain catching up too slowly. "Monica, I can explain. You told me you were working late," Monica said. "You told me you had a client dinner." Lindsay's eyes filled with tears. "This is humiliating. Why would you do this to me?" Michael didn't raise his voice. Didn't move. "You did this to yourself." A server hovered nearby, uncertain. Other diners were staring now, not even pretending to look away. Derek tried to recover, his salesman instincts kicking in. "Look, this is a misunderstanding." Lindsay turned on him. "You said you loved me." Derek's face flushed. "You told me you were separated." "I never said that." "You sure as hell implied it." Monica stepped closer, her voice cutting through. "You ruined our family for this." Derek reached for her arm. "Mon, just listen." She yanked away. "Don't touch me." Chair scraped. A woman at the next table whispered something to her husband. The server backed toward the kitchen. Lindsay was crying now, mascara starting to run. "Michael, please, can we talk about this somewhere else?" Michael stood, pulled out his wallet, dropped 2 20s on the table. "We're done here," he said. Monica grabbed her purse. Derek tried one more time. "Monica, wait." She didn't even look at him. Michael walked past Lindsay without a word. She reached for his arm, but he kept moving. Outside, the air was cool and clean. The noise of the restaurant faded behind them. Monica stopped on the sidewalk and exhaled, long and slow. "That felt good," she said. Michael nodded. "Yeah." They stood there for a moment, two strangers united by betrayal, watching the river move in the dark. Then Monica pulled out her phone. I'm calling a lawyer tomorrow. Me too. She looked at him. Thank you for telling me. You deserve to know. She got in her car and drove away. Michael sat in his truck for a long time before starting the engine. When he finally pulled out of the parking lot, he didn't look back. Lindsay came home at 9:43. Michael knew because he'd been sitting in the living room since he got back, the lights off, waiting. He heard her car in the driveway, heard the engine shut off, heard her sit there for a long minute before opening the door. When she finally came inside, her makeup was streaked, her eyes red and swollen. She looked at him sitting in the dark and started crying again. I made a mistake, she said, voice breaking. Michael, I made a terrible mistake. He meant nothing. It was just, I was lonely, and he made me feel. Stop. She froze. Michael stood, walked past her to the front door, and opened it. On the porch sat 3 suitcases and 2 garbage bags. Everything she'd need. Lindsay stared at them. What is that? Your things. What are you talking about? You're leaving. Her face crumpled. Michael, no. Please. We can work through this. I'll end it. I'll do whatever you want. Please. He walked to the kitchen and came back with an envelope. Handed it to her. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside, printed copies of the messages. Photos. Dates. Everything. I don't do second chances, Michael said. Michael, I changed the locks. Your things are on the porch. You need to leave. She looked at him like he'd struck her. You're really doing this? Right now? You're just throwing me out. Yes. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Lindsay's tears turned to anger. You can't do this. This is my house, too. Was. My name's on the deed. My money paid for it. The lawyer will send you the paperwork. You already talked to a lawyer? This afternoon. She stared at him, searching for something, sympathy, hesitation, anything she could use. Found nothing. You're heartless, she whispered. No, I'm done. He picked up the suitcases and carried them to her car. She followed him, still crying, still pleading. Michael, please. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. He loaded the bags into her trunk. You don't love me, he said quietly. You love the life I gave you. There's a difference. That's not fair. Fair. He turned to face her. You spent 3 months lying to me, sleeping with another man, using my money, my home, my trust, while you build a life behind my back. Don't talk to me about fair. She had nothing to say to that. Michael went back inside and closed the door. She stood on the porch for another 10 minutes, crying, begging through the door. He didn't respond. Eventually, she left. Michael locked the deadbolt and walked through the quiet house. Their wedding photo still hung in the hallway. He took it down and put it in the garage. Then he poured himself a drink and sat on the back porch, listening to the crickets. The house felt lighter without her in it. By morning, Lindsay was already rewriting history. Michael's phone started buzzing at 7 a.m. Texts from mutual friends. Calls from her sister. Everyone asking what happened, why he'd kicked her out, how he could be so cruel. He deleted them all. By noon, the story had spread. Lindsay was at her mother's house, playing the victim, telling anyone who'd listened that Michael had blindsided her, that he'd thrown her out over a misunderstanding, that he'd refused to even talk to her. She left out the part about Derek. Michael's phone rang. Lindsay's best friend, Jessica. Michael, what the hell is going on? Lindsay is devastated. She should be. She said you kicked her out without warning. She's lying. Michael, ask her about Derek Vaughn. Silence. Ooh, ask her. He hung up. 20 minutes later, Jessica called back. Her tone had changed. Oh my God. Yeah. Michael, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. It's fine. If you need anything, I'm good. Thanks. He hung up again and turned his phone off. Let Lindsay spin her story. The truth would find its way out. It always did. Derek's life started falling apart faster. Monica filed for divorce that Friday. By Monday, she'd submitted a formal complaint to Derek's employer, complete with screenshots showing he'd used company travel budgets and work trips to facilitate the affair. HR opened an internal investigation. Wednesday, Derek was placed on administrative leave. Friday, he was fired. Michael heard about it through Monica, who texted him updates with grim satisfaction. He's out. Effective immediately. Good, Michael replied. He tried calling me 47 times yesterday. I blocked him. Michael smiled at that. Dare tried reaching out to Lindsay. She answered it first. Michael knew because her friend Jessica told him, feeling guilty about initially taking Lindsay's side. But after 2 weeks of Derek spiraling, losing his job, losing his apartment, drowning in legal fees, Lindsay stopped answering his calls. He'd been exciting when he had money and status. Now he was just a liability. Michael watched it all from a distance, feeling nothing. Lindsay filed for divorce first, trying to gain the upper hand. She wanted the house, wanted spousal support, wanted to walk away like she hadn't destroyed everything. Michael's lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia who looked like a librarian and fought like a pit bull, smiled when she saw the filing. She's going for everything, Patricia said. Can she get it? Not if you have proof of infidelity. Michael handed her a folder. I have proof. Patricia flipped through it. Messages, photos, dates, financial records showing Lindsay had used their joint credit card for hotel rooms and dinners with Derek. This is good, she said. This is very good. How long will it take? Depends on how hard she fights. But with this, we'll win. The court date came 3 months later. Michael sat in the courtroom in a dark suit, calm and composed. Lindsay sat across the aisle with her lawyer, a young guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. She dressed carefully, conservative dress, minimal makeup, playing the wounded wife. The judge called the case. Lindsay's lawyer went first, painting a picture of a woman blindsided by her husband's cruelty. How Michael had refused counseling. How he'd thrown her out without warning. How she'd built a life in that house and deserved to keep it. Then Patricia stood. Your Honor, my client has documentation proving Mrs. Rourke engaged in a 3-month extramarital affair. She used jointly held credit cards to finance hotel stays and restaurant meals with her paramour. She lied repeatedly to Mr. Rourke about her whereabouts. And when confronted, she showed no remorse, only attempted to rewrite the narrative in her favor. She submitted the evidence. The judge reviewed it in silence. Lindsay started crying. Your Honor, I made a mistake. I was lonely. Michael worked all the time. I just wanted to feel valued. The judge looked up. Mrs. Rourke, your feelings of loneliness don't justify fraud or infidelity. I know, but the evidence is clear. You engaged in an affair using marital assets. You lied to your husband, and you attempted to claim those same assets in this proceeding despite your actions directly causing the dissolution of the marriage. Lindsay's lawyer tried to interject. The judge held up a hand. Mr. Rourke will retain the house. No spousal support will be awarded. Assets will be divided equitably, but given the circumstances, Mrs. Rourke will receive a smaller share to account for her misuse of joint funds. Lindsay's face went pale. Your Honor, please. My decision is final. The gavel fell. Michael walked out of the courthouse into bright afternoon sun. Patricia caught up with him on the steps. That went well. Thank you. She'll probably appeal. Let her. Patricia smiled. You're taking this better than most of my clients. I'm just ready to move on. Smart man. She shook his hand and walked away. Michael stood there for a moment, watching people come and go from the courthouse. Marriages ending. Contracts disputed. Lives being rearranged by judges and lawyers and paperwork. Somewhere behind him, Lindsay was probably still crying. He felt nothing. 6 months after the divorce finalized, Michael ran into Monica at a grocery store. She was in the produce section, comparing apples, her daughter beside her chattering about something from school. Michael, he turned. Hey, she smiled. Genuine this time, not the bitter smile from the restaurant. How are you? Good. You? Better. Much better, actually. She glanced at her daughter, who was now inspecting grapes. We're rebuilding. Fresh start. That's good. Derek lost everything. The job, the apartment, his credibility. Last I heard, he moved back in with his parents in Georgia. And Lindsay, Monica's smile sharpened. Heard she's working 2 jobs now. Living with her mom. Can't afford her own place after the settlement. Michael nodded. Monica studied him. You doing okay? Really? Yeah, I am. Good. She paused. Thank you for what you did, for telling me. A lot of people wouldn't have. You deserve to know. Still, it took guts. Her daughter tugged on her sleeve, ready to move on. Take care of yourself, Michael. You too. He watched her walk away, her daughter's hand in hers, rebuilding a life that had been broken by someone else's selfishness. Michael finished his shopping and drove home. That evening, Michael sat on his back porch as the sun set over the subdivision. The house was quiet, peaceful. His. He didn't miss Lindsay. Not really. He missed the version of her that had existed in his mind, the woman he'd thought he married. But that woman had never been real. Just a performance that had eventually worn thin. The real Lindsay, the one who lied and cheated and played the victim when caught. He didn't miss her at all. His phone buzzed. A text from his sister, checking in like she had every week since the divorce. How are you holding up? Good, he replied. Really good. Proud of you. You handled this with more dignity than she deserved. Michael smiled at that. He set his phone down and looked out at the yard. The grass needed mowing. The fence needed a coat of stain. Small projects. Manageable. A life reduced to its essentials. And that was fine. Some people apologized when they got caught. Some people begged for forgiveness. Some people tried to rewrite history to make themselves the hero. And some people like Lindsay and Derek, got exactly what they earned. Michael had learned a long time ago that fairness wasn't something you waited for. It was something you built brick by brick, decision by decision. He'd built a fair outcome, and he'd done it without ever raising his voice. He stood, stretched, and walked inside, locked the door behind him. Tomorrow, he'd start fresh. Clean slate. New chapter. Tonight, he'd sleep well. For the first time in months, the house felt like home. Not because Lindsay was gone, but because Michael had finally stopped pretending she'd ever really been there. He turned off the lights and climbed the stairs. The bedroom was empty. The closet held only his clothes. The bed was his, and he'd never felt more at peace. 3 years later, Michael's life looked nothing like it had during the marriage. The house on Meadowbrook Drive was long sold. Too many memories, too many ghosts haunting the corners. He'd taken the profit and moved to a smaller place on the east side of Knoxville, closer to the mountains, farther from the subdivisions where everyone pretended their lives were perfect. The new house sat on 2 acres, surrounded by trees. No neighbors close enough to wave at. No one asking questions he didn't want to answer. He'd rebuilt himself carefully. New job, better pay, better hours. New routines. Morning runs on the trails behind his property. Evenings on the porch with a book instead of waiting for someone who'd never come home. He'd dated occasionally. Nothing serious. A few dinners, a few second dates. Women who were interesting, independent, clear about what they wanted. No games. No lies. He wasn't looking for anything permanent. Some men remarried fast, desperate to fill the void. Michael didn't have a void. He'd filled it with peace, with autonomy, with the quiet satisfaction of building a life that answered to no one but himself. His friends, the ones who'd stayed after the divorce, respected that. His family stopped asking when he'd get back out there. Michael was out there, just not in the way they meant. He heard about Lindsay from time to time. Small-town gossip traveled, even when you tried to avoid it. She'd moved to Chattanooga, trying to escape the reputation she'd built. Worked as a bank teller, nothing like the management position she'd held before. She dated a few men, short relationships that ended badly. According to Jessica, who still texted Michael occasionally with updates he never asked for. She's miserable, Jessica had written once. Gained weight. Looks 10 years older. Regrets everything. Michael hadn't responded. Lindsay's regret wasn't his problem. Derek had fared worse. The firing had blacklisted him in his industry. He tried freelancing, tried selling insurance, tried a dozen desperate pivots that never stuck. Last anyone heard, he was working at a furniture warehouse in Atlanta, divorced, estranged from his daughter. Monica, meanwhile, had thrived. She'd remarried, a quiet, steady man who worked in IT and coached their daughter's soccer team. She'd gone back to school, earned her nursing degree. Her social media glowed with pictures of family trips, graduations, small victories. Michael had liked one of her posts once, her daughter's high school graduation. She'd messaged him, "Thank you for everything. Seriously, you changed my life." He'd replied, "You change your own life. I just gave you the information." She'd sent a heart emoji. That was the last they'd spoken. On a Tuesday in October, 5 years after the divorce, Michael was at the hardware store when he saw her. Lindsay. She stood in the paint aisle, holding two color swatches, comparing them like the decision mattered. She looked older, tired in a way makeup couldn't hide. Her hair was shorter, streaked with gray she hadn't bothered to cover. The confidence she'd once carried like armor was gone, replaced with something smaller. She hadn't seen him yet. Michael debated walking away, avoiding the moment entirely. But then she turned, and their eyes met. Her face went pale. "Michael." He nodded. "Lindsay." Silence. She set down the paint swatches, her hands shaking slightly. "Al, how have you been?" "Good." Yeah. She tried to smile. "Failed." "That's good. That's really good." More silence. "I heard you moved," she said. "I did. Out toward the mountains." "Yeah." She nodded, looking anywhere but at him. "That's nice. Quiet out there." "It is." She finally met his eyes. "Michael, I want to say." "Don't." She stopped. "I don't need an apology," he said. "It's been 5 years. We've both moved on. I know, but I think about it sometimes. About what I did. How stupid I was." Michael picked up the screws he'd come for. "What you did was your choice. What happened after was the consequence. That's all. I lost everything. You made that choice too." Her face crumpled slightly. "I know. I wish I could go back. Do it differently." "You can't." "I know." He moved toward the checkout. She followed a few steps, then stopped. "Are you happy?" she asked quietly. Michael looked at her, really looked at her, saw the weight she carried, the regret that had carved lines into her face, the life she'd destroyed chasing something that had never been real. "Yes," he said. "I am." She nodded, tears forming. "Good. You deserve that." He didn't respond. She turned away, back to the paint swatches, back to whatever small life she was building in the wreckage. Michael paid for his screws and left. He didn't think about her again. That night, sitting on his porch as the October air turned cool, Michael thought about the past 5 years. The divorce, the anger, the cold, methodical dismantling of a life that had been built on lies. He'd handled it without breaking, without forgiving, without softening. Some people would call that ruthless. Michael called it self-respect. He'd learned something in those years, something important. Forgiveness wasn't mandatory. It wasn't noble. It was a choice. And some people didn't deserve it. Lindsay had made her choices. So had Derek. They'd both paid for them. And Michael? He'd built something better, something honest. A life where he didn't wait for someone else to decide his worth. He finished his drink and stood, stretching in the cool air. Inside, the house was clean, organized. His. No lies hiding in the corners. No secrets waiting to surface. Just peace. Michael locked the door and turned off the lights. Tomorrow, he'd wake up early, go for a run, work on the fence he was building in the back. Maybe call an old friend for lunch. Small things. Good things. A life built on his terms. He climbed into bed and closed his eyes. And for the first time in years, he didn't dream about the past. He dreamed about the trail he'd run tomorrow, the mountains rising in the distance, the sun breaking through the trees. He dreamed about a future that was entirely his. And when he woke, he'd chase it. No looking back. Never again.